Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the League episode, I believe, 13. And on this one, we have a bunch of breaking news happening on this Sunday as you watch this, of course, on Monday and beyond. The Rafael Devers trade from Boston to San Francisco after a Yankee sweep. And then 17 is coming back. We'll get to all that and all the crazy stories, the standings, the stats of what has gone on around the league in MLB coming up. All right, so let's get this started. Of course, I'm James. Here with me is ToddFox, of course. How are you this Father's Day?
I'm doing good. I wish the Angels played better on on holidays because Mother's Day they put up a similar performance. So not a good way to end the series there with Baltimore. But I'm sure we'll get into that because you got a lot of takes tonight, right, my friend?
There is so much going on. Happy to mention the Fathers did win on Father's Day in Arizona. Since there's no mothers in the MLB, or at least teams named after mothers. But yeah, there's so much going on. I think we'll start right away with the Rafael Devers trade. He goes to the San Francisco Giants. Him and his big contract, by the way, $250 million plus, goes to the Giants there. The Red Sox, it feels like a salary dump, and they've done this before. They get Kyle Harrison, who's been a fringe major league starter, and they actually optioned him right away to AAA Pawtucket. And if you've seen Pawtucket, you know that from the Family Guy episodes. So he's not even going to be on the major league roster there. Jordan Hicks is the other pitcher. They list him as a starter, but I gotta think he moves to reliever. That's the way he came into the MLB about 5 so years ago. Fireball pitcher, 305, needed surgery. Then he tried to come back as a starter, and it didn't really work out for him earlier this year with the Giants. So that it's going to be interesting to see if those two work out as major league players that have already been up. Now the prospects in this. The Red Sox get another pitcher, Jose Bello, and we'll see if he comes up young and if he'll do well or not. And then there's an outfielder, James Tibbs. It's interesting too to see that the Red Sox get another outfielder because the whole thing about the trades with Boston that they were going to try to get rid of one of their outfielders, and it was mostly Jern Duran that they were trying to get rid of. And maybe it will happen. Maybe Aroldis Chapman gets traded as well. But Boston, coming off a 3-game weekend sweep of the Yankees, makes this trade. And, by the way, Rafael Devers did homer today, and it was only a 2-0 shutout of New York. The timing is weird about this. They were getting ready for a Sunday night trip to Seattle. And then they told Devers, hey, get off the plane, get in your SUV, drive to your house, get your stuff ready for San Francisco. Just one of the weirdest timed trades ever. But to look back real quick about Rafael Devers and his career with Boston, he was the lone remaining player from the 2018 Red Sox team that defeated the Dodgers in that World Series. Xander Bogaerts was there. Now he signed a deal with San Diego, I think 2 years ago, or more than that. And that 12-year deal has not worked out. It's one of the worst contracts if it wasn't for number 6. Mookie Betts. Remember that big trade to Los Angeles for Verdugo, among others? That really didn't work out for Boston. And Betts has gone on to win 2 rings in Los Angeles. The outfielder, James Tibbs, by the way, he's a number 4 prospect of the Giants at the time. And Jose Bello, he's a right-handed pitcher, as I mentioned. God, he was born in 2005. Yikes. His minor league stats, he's 1-0. He's pitched in 8 games, has a 2 ERA this season, and 18 innings and 28 strikeouts. He was pitching for, at this point, single A in the Giants organization. So, but going back to Devers, looking at this deal and looking at the season he had so far, remember they signed him to a big extension, and he was supposed to be their third baseman of the future. He signed a 10-year, $313.5 million contract that started last season. And then he became one of the worst fielding infielders out there at third base. So the Red Sox didn't really tell him the plans, but they brought in Alex Bregman late. And he was playing well for Boston. Devers did not want to move to first or be the DH, but instead the team made him go to DH. They wanted to move him to first when Casas got hurt, and he didn't want to do that either. Bregman gets hurt, and it's injuries down the line, by the way. First baseline running for the 2 injured Red Sox. Didn't want to go back to third. So what are you going to do with him? He was struggling out of the gate, hitting wise. He's only 28 years old. He's, again, a below average fielder. From spring training on, it was just awful. When the season started, though, he went 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts. In this show, I really highlighted the timeline for his season so far. My guess, the front office, Craig Breslow, I still can't believe now he's the GM for Boston. I remember he would have a weird windup, when he pitched out of the bullpen. But I think he finally had enough of Devers going back and forth. Devers would say little things in the media. I think they wanted him to go back to defense in June. He had the, quote saying, they had a conversation for me, and he says, I don't think it's for me personally that I go back to playing a position. So after a while, you kind of have this, I don't know, you have not a hothead, but someone that feels like they've been slated to the point where, hey, even though I make all this money, I shouldn't really sacrifice for you after you sign my replacement at third base. And before I give it to you about this, the Red Sox, again, they swept the Yankees, their main rivals, on Sunday. He said in the press conference or the interview, quote, we are playing good baseball, but I still feel like we have more. And we'll get to the standings and how well they have done as of late. But it's just funny. A few hours later, traded to the Giants. Again, a weird, timely trade. Todd, have you ever seen anything like it, maybe in the 4 major sports?
Not really, but it's funny that you brought up the Bregman thing, because I started hearing rumblings about it when Bregman was not even signed officially by Boston, but rumored. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, and I didn't believe it at the time, that Devers was already throwing a tantrum before spring training. So they were saying, hey, you better not sign him because it's going to cause some problems. I didn't really think it was all that much, because you would think that some of these guys, although they've got their, so to speak, as the kids like to say, their bag. Devers got his bag, so he, maybe he can just suck it up, buttercup, move to DH, move to first base, and move on, right? But there's such an ego with this guy. And granted, he's batting .272. He's got 15 homers, 58 RBIs. one of the more dangerous hitters in the league right now. Like you said, they're coming off a sweep of the Yankees. They're only 6 out or so. They're right there. They're not done. They've gone through injuries, but they're still a formidable team in the East, at least a team that you can't sleep on. And, they're building for the future. But I think it was a perfect storm, James. I think when he started to have these tantrums, when Bregman got there, they had to sit down with him and the GM. That didn't work. So they had to sit down with him and the owner. And there wasn't much said on what happened. So there wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, they cleared the air. Everything's all roses and rainbows. We're all good. Sunshine and rainbows the rest of the way. So that didn't happen. And then on the other side, where the Giants are coming from, you have an aggressive team president in Buster Posey, who came out and said it was one of the worst years of his life with the Dodgers winning. He said he does not want to have them rule that division. He says that they should be competing, if not rivaling, if not taking over that division. So he has high expectations for his own team. And up until the Clayton Kershaw start yesterday, I believe, and today we'll get into that series too, I guess. But the Dodgers, they won the last 2 games when the Giants had blown them out the first game. Posey was looking to be in first place when they left Los Angeles. Unfortunately for him, they lose both those games, and they're 2 games out as we speak. But what happens? Posey makes an aggressive move because he's right there, and he gets himself an all-star third base. Now, like you said, defensively, it's not going to help the Giants, but it sure as hell is going to help that lineup, hitting behind or in front of Adames. What, are you kidding me? That's great. And then with Chapman there, too, that's a formidable lineup. But not to be outdone, James, the Dodgers can't they're just like the Lakers in basketball. Someone makes a big trade, the Lakers have got to steal that thunder. And just like in baseball, the Giants make a big deal. The Dodgers have to steal some headlines and say Ohtani is going to be pitching. And we'll get into that later. But that's just my synopsis on it. It was, to sum it up, James, for me, it was the perfect storm. It was the Bregman signing. It was the ownership and Devers being at odds. And it was Buster Posey like, hey, man, I could really use some more power in this lineup. And whammo bammo, I think it works out for him.
Yeah, I love what Buster Posey has started so far. I think it started from last year, too, when they got Matt Chapman to play third. They got Willie Adames to be in the infield as well. And then they brought all these young players up. They got rid of Lamont Wade Jr., and they've been better ever since for it.
What sucker team took him?
We have all these goodwill players, and everybody else is reaching for the stars, man. Ridiculous, dude.
Yep.
Tim Anderson. Oh, my goodness. Kevin Newman. Anyway, by the way, June 20th, so Friday coming up, Boston goes to San Francisco to start a 3-game series.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We will see if Devers, if he hits a big home run, which is kind of tough at, Oracle Park in that weather. But if he has anything to, if he glares over at the, first base dugout where all the former teammates are.
What's unfortunate, it wasn't in Boston.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that would have been something.
It would kind of remind me of like Russell Westbrook going to Seattle for the first time as a Bronco. But what I saw from Alex Cora, I think they were playing the Yankees last weekend, and there was a ground ball. He didn't really run out of the box. He didn't. No. He ran out of the box very well, but then he slowed up. But the fielder didn't really have control of the ball yet. And he was almost at the first base bag, and then he just slowed up, and the out was recorded. And I think Alex Cora said, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Are you running? Like, is there anything wrong with your hamstring?" And then you kind of see Cora kind of go like, what the hell are you doing? So yeah, look out for that series next weekend coming up. That is going to be fireworks, maybe. Just something that will stand out. There was something else I was going to mention about the like you mentioned, the lineup for the Giants now. It is stacked. I mean, they have great starting pitchers as well. Uh, and it's amazing to see that they're only, I think 2 games now out of
Yeah, they're
first
only 2
place.
games. They could have been tied for first or in first had they won those 2 games.
Yeah, speaking of the Dodgers, number 17's back tomorrow. He'll face the San Diego Padres in his first start as a pitcher for the Dodgers. We were wondering when he was going to come back, making his first big league pitching appearance since August 23rd of 2023 with the Angels, of course. And we remember he left the start early and he never came back. He actually left the team, from what I remember.
I never came back.
And then he had to appear in the dugout, and everybody was taking pictures of him, and he literally never came back after that.
I will say this. I know it's not the hot take hoedown show, but I will give you my hot take, and that is he will not be on the playoff roster as a pitcher.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to flame out pretty quick. That's my prediction.
The Fangraphs have him here only having a 3-2 record for 2025. Mm-hmm. His career record, though, 38 wins, 19 losses. That's kind of a shocker there. What is this? He walked damn, okay, that's crazy. He averaged almost 11 strikeouts an inning, outing, 3 walks an outing. But we remember him having a 3 ERA as well with the Angels all those years, 18-23. Of course, there was one year where he didn't pitch with the Tommy John in 2019. And I always mention this, Todd, where when it comes to Shohei, or number 17, he's one elbow surgery away from having to, pick. Say, hey, just be a DH full time. I'm going to be a $700 million DH the whole damn time. Eventually that day is going to come. And it might be soon, depending on how he comes out and pitches. But he will, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to say this is the problem I have with him too, because again, if Juan Soto had took like a $500 or $400 million contract, yes, it would have been excessive, but you would have been like, okay, he's getting paid to be a hitter. Now, getting paid to be a dual player, $700 million, they've already sealed their fate with signing this dude. You can't say, okay, well, you can't pitch no more. So the last 8 years of the contract, we're going to just divide a little bit of that cash away or divvy it away because, obviously we're not paying you to be a two-way. No, they paid him to be a two-way, and there's no way. I mean, me and you talked about it before. Had he stayed completely healthy, he would at max give you 3 or 4 more years at max as a decent to above average pitcher. I don't see it, bro. I don't see no-nos from him. I don't see him prolonged career as a pitcher. He's only getting older. There's no way, bro, that he's going to live up to that contract, and he will become a Juan Soto $700 million hitter only.
That's why we're going to have a stoppage here. I just hear $700 million. I'm thinking, no. For one person, $700 million? I know I sound like a casual, but damn, dude. I remember when $252 million was too much for A-Rod and Albert.
Yeah, they couldn't stop talking about those contracts. And now it's just like, oh, it's a thing now. It's okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. Inflation's one thing, but inflation's not that high, dude. I mean, that's like 300% higher. So, no, I disagree. I agree with you. I disagree with the contracts that they gave, but I agree with you that the stoppage is a must. They need to nip this in the butt. That needs to be the unicorn of contracts between him and Soto, and just leave it alone and just forget about it and be like, okay, those are grandfathered in, unfortunately, but we're going to put a limit to this bull crap. So
yeah, it's got to be. Dave Roberts mentioned, quote, he's getting very eager, very excited. And I think there's at a point where, in kind of hearing from Shohei through a translator, that the effort it takes to throw live BP and then to play a game, that we'd rather use those bullets in a game. He comes into Sunday with a 290 average, OPS of 1.023 that leads the NL, and 25 home runs. Again, a 3-time MVP, 2 with the Angels and 1 with LA. So tomorrow against San Diego, the spotlight has been on LA pretty much all weekend, but now with the Padres for a 4-game series, and that's just going to be something to see. I'll even check that out when I get home. Before we move on, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, hey, watch all the shows here. You mentioned the Hoedown, Hot Take Hoedown. A lot of H's in that with Vince and Fernando. I learned so much off of all these shows. Of course, watch a post-game show here with ToddFox after every game. What is it? The Lone Star Halo podcast is going on too with Fernando and you or whomever shows up. Was there another show?
Dominique's
minor league on the farm show. That's going to come in handy pretty soon because depending on the Angels and how they do the next, a month and a half, let's just say, there might be some trades. Yeah, definitely. There'll be some trades coming. What's his name? Kenley Jansen might be gone. As of right now, Taylor Ward, maybe. One of your favorites there. We'll see. You get to see him every day.
Yeah. I mean, there's about 6 or 7 players that are veterans that could easily be traded. And then you could say goodbye to a guy like Strickland who could play his way into a playoff spot. Although he's pitched very good for the Angels last year and this year, someone's got to look at him and be like, hey, we can use, a middle relief guy like him, and he'll come in handy for somebody.
The sad part is, hey, you can encourage a player with the Angels right now. If you play good enough or well enough, you can get the hell out of here.
Well, speaking of the Angels games, if I could do a quick wrap up on them. So that's a good transition, right? Yeah. So they just finished the second series with Baltimore. James, they are done with the Orioles. They went 1-5. Now this team has 30-40 being the Orioles, 16-19 at home. The Angels could use some of those victories because now they are 4 games under 500. They scored a total in those 6 games against the Baltimore Orioles of, get this, James, 16 runs total. You cannot win many games out of a series when you only score 16. And in one of those games, they scored 5 runs. That was their highest in the series with the Orioles. So with that being said, they scored 16 runs against a team with the worst ERA and starting pitching in all of baseball. And, again, we have the bend but don't break Angels pitching that will not be good as far as ERA. Stats are concerned. The Angels don't look good, but they keep you in ball games. And the Angels so far this year, James, are 4 and I believe 20. I want to say 26. Is it? No. They're 4-27 when scoring 3 runs or less, and they are a robust 29-10 when they score 4 runs or more. So the key is to get to 4 to 5 runs, and you usually win. And that hasn't been the case for the Angels as they continue to play into it. They continue to make mistakes. Yeah, bro, my thing on this series is like, man, just like against the Marlins, just like against the Pirates, you're underperforming against these teams. Me and, you've been very bullish on this team. You've been trying to speak it straight. And when everyone else is honking their honk, and I honked my honk a little bit and was like, hey, man, 81 wins. I could see this getting there, making an 18-game improvement. However, things would have to go right. And they did pitching-wise so far, but the hitting has been so inconsistent due to the analytics and the stupidity of some of our hitters. I don't see us getting there. And it's really frustrating, James. And I want to ask you this with that synopsis on the Orioles. Were you expecting this to start this 7-game series, them playing like this, or were you expecting a little bit better?
From, the Mariners series and the A series, I thought, okay, they're on their way, 7-3 in their last 10 after the A series. And I thought, okay, can that translate to the road? And the way the Orioles have been playing with the managerial change, I thought, okay, maybe they could take 2 out of 3. Maybe the Orioles are down on themselves being, in last place in that AL East where you have to be the best. But that didn't happen. You had bad pitching performances, including today with Tyler Anderson. He'll give you one of these bad performances like once a month. It's not like it's the opposite with Kyle Hendricks,
It was Kikuchi today.
Oh, it's Kikuchi. I'm sorry. Anderson was Saturday.
Correct.
Yeah. So I watched most of Anderson's start, then I watched Kikuchi today, and it felt like more of the same. We had Friday, luckily, but again, it was enough offense to get it done. But day games, even though the weather was bad, pretty much all weekend long, I was wondering if we were going to get Saturday, and honestly, but that could really mess with the team as well. When you're having 2 delays in one game, and then having to get up earlier for the other 2 games, and being a function. But that just spells to me they're only going to have a worse time against the Yankees in a 4-game series. 3 night games, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you have a Thursday businessman special at the stadium in the Bronx. The outlook, though, man, I'm hoping they just get 1 in New York. But hopefully Ohtani and Neto, being fans of that team growing up, that, they could play with extra pizzazz. I think Rob mentioned about Ohtani, where he has to get his swing back and not swing for the fences literally. That's why I love having y'all here, because I'll just be making up something if it wasn't for hearing from you guys. But the Logan Ohtani just needs to get going. I don't know if he needs to sit out for a game or 2 and just watch the action, like I always mention. But if he doesn't get going and Neto doesn't get going, and the offense is, they keep changing back and forth. They're consistently inconsistent.
Correct.
They are always like this. And especially with the Yankees, they'll surprise you in one game with the Angels and win, but they'll just peter out in the other games. I feel like that's going to happen. They might surprise the Yankees in either game 1 or 2, but the Yankees should easily, being a first-place team, just get all the wins after that.
Yeah, because it's frustrating, because you look at this team and you're like, okay, they can bounce out of it. They don't have to swing for the fences. If they were to just play small ball and try to work the pitches into their favor, when they were doing that at their height, and they were playing really good and getting the starters out there a little early and getting to those bullpens. And I think that plays into the Angels or any other team's advantage. And just think about this real quick. If I could rattle off some stats at the Stat King himself, James Gonzalez, here on the Around the League show. In 520 at-bats, the Angels, 2,290 at-bats, they only have 520 hits, which is 29th in the league, only 5 hits more than the Chicago White Sox. They are sporting right now a batting average of 227. Yes, you heard it right, 227. Stolen bases, you may say. How many stolen bases do the Angels have? 33 total. Only the Detroit Tigers have run less than the Angels. Let's see, as far as strikeouts, who's leading the league? Oh, that would be our Angels. James, the Angels have the most strikeouts in baseball, nearly 700 of them. As far as walks, how many Angels have walked this year? Or how many walks do we have? We are only 29th, again, in the league. 177 total walks. Only the Royals have less walks than us. And then I want to say, well, hey, what about a positive? How many home runs do the Angels have? Oh, they have 100 total, which means they have to have a shit ton of RBIs, right, James? Because when you hit home runs, that's a lot of RBIs. Because right now, 100 RBIs is the 4th best in all of baseball. Oh, no, wait. Where are we on the RBIs list? Oh, we're way down at 18 with 281 RBIs. First place is 380. So that just goes to show you a lot of solo home runs. And again, I mean, on-base percentage, let's see where the Angels are on the on-base percentage. Oh, wait, 16th in the league, 289. Somehow they're around middle of the pack. But if that doesn't scream to you, James, fire Johnny Washington, what else does?
Just wait till the end of the season. That's what I think is basically what's going to happen with the whole managerial staff. They'll just play out the season. Some other worst in baseball to be noted, and
let's hear it.
I'll just mention these two Angels. So, who has the worst OBP on
Soler.
base plus Luis Rengifo with 253.
Woo!
He did hit 2 home runs in Saturday's game, I
Yes,
believe,
yes.
and they were both pretty much in the same place in right center. Um, that didn't mean anything. It's all or nothing swing with Rengifo. I think, who was it? I think it was Fernando who was talking about Rengifo and just the disappointment I think we've all had in him. You know, he had that one great year. I think it was either 21 or 22, where it just looked like he was having it all together at the plate. Either taking walks, getting extra base hits, or hitting the big fly.
It was 21 and 22. He had mirror because we went over that the other night. He had like almost the identical season. He batted 264. 1 year was 17 homers, 70 RBIs. The next year was 16 and 64. So almost the mirror, like it looked like that was his peak of like that's who he was going to be. And I was fine with that. If he gave you that right now, I guarantee you Moore's not up here.
That's true. Yeah, that was a big thing, of course. Christian Moore was called up to play Friday. I think he drew a walk on Saturday, but that's been pretty much it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't got a hit. He's been swinging at the sweepers or the sliders outside of the zone. I've noticed right away. That's going to happen with a rookie. Yeah, okay, so more of the worst in baseball. Jack Kohanowitz has a 5.53 ERA. He's been in some games where he's given up, you know, 7 or 8 runs, it seems like. He had that one good start against the Dodgers in LA. That was, of course, that Friday night watch party that HITI had. But other from that, it just seems like he's had a struggle with runs given up, whether it's day game, night game, mostly day games. But yeah, you have two Angels with the worst in baseball individually. But the worst average is Michael Conforto at 173. He was signed for a 1-year, $60 million deal to play left field for LA. And even Dodger fans were getting on him at the Padre game I went to on Wednesday against LA. They know he's bad. I mean, they didn't even have to sign him, really, because they had Teoscar Hernandez back. They have some other minor leaguers coming up in the outfield, but they decided to have him. And he's just been bad ever since. Joey Ortiz, the second baseman, I think, for the Brewers, he's had to replace Willy Adames. He has a 506 OPS, that's on base plus slugging. The Pirates and White Sox share the team OPS at 638. And then it's the Rockies the rest of the way for the rest of these three stats. They're 14 and 57. They have a run differential of negative 203.
Pretty good.
And then the team ERA is 5.62. Now, that's not shocking at Coors Field, but they don't really have, other from Freeland, they don't have, a major league staff, really.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the way it is right now for them. And speaking of White Sox, I wanted to get your opinion on this because, of course, we're ones to try to get Artie out. And we had, some, blowback in Chicago as well, where they had a picture of Jerry Reinsdorf. I think I sent it to the chat last year, where they had a picture of the owner of the White Sox and a big 4-letter word, not that one, but sell on the banner hanging from rate field at that time, guarantee rate field at that time. But the White Sox announced, I believe it was last Thursday, that Reinsdorf has reached a long-term investment agreement that establishes a framework for Justin Ashiba to obtain a future controlling interest in the White Sox, but not before 2019. It's the weirdest thing. Matt Ishba, of course, is the brother of Justin, and he owns the Phoenix Suns. But Ishba will make capital infusions into the White Sox as a limited partner this season and next season to pay debt that is going on with the team operations with the White Sox. But to break it down, basically, they're not going to have a ownership change until 29. It's almost like, okay, with the A's, they're saying they're leaving, but they stayed last year in Oakland. The Raiders did that for 3 years, where they said, okay, we're leaving to Vegas, but we have to play here 3 years. And then Reinsdorf is here for 4 more years until he sells the team or literally gives it up. It was almost like that 30-for-30, I think it's called Big Shot, where they had the Islanders owner try to sell the team, and one guy stepped in, but he couldn't make the payments. There would be no problem with Ishba here, but the timing of it, where you have to wait 4 years to make a move, make the ownership change. I think we would be happy with this if that was Moreno, but we would hate waiting for it. Waiting would be the hardest part. So I've never really seen this in MLB where they said, hey, we're going to have an ownership change, but it's going to take 4 years. You have anything on that?
Although the only thing I could add to that is basically if I'm the Angels fan and I see that and there is something where, Moreno says, I'm going to give it 3 more years as the owner, I would expect Moreno to be like, I'm going to give it 3 more years under my control, my watch, my tutelage, my way of doing things. However, I don't know how the Reinsdorf thing is set up. Maybe the brother can start inputting what he would like to do in between now and then. Maybe he changes up. Maybe he's more hands-on. Maybe he's starting out as an apprentice, following around Reinsdorf on how to run the team and what he does, and maybe he could have some input. Because if I'm a White Sox fan, that's the only thing I can hang my hat on, is not only that there will be a regime change in 29, but hopefully there can be the start of a little bit here and a little bit there in the next 3 years before you get the full transition. And maybe that'll give a head start to the new ownership coming in. So that would be my only hope if I'm a White Sox fan.
Yeah, and then Ishba will not have any controlling interest until 29. He's just going to help pay off debt, basically. So you're still having that family ownership with Reinsdorf, which has been highly criticized the last 4 or 5 years. How they brought back Tony La Russa, and he's been caught sleeping in the dugout, I think, 3 years ago. The fans told him twice at home to pinch run for someone late in the game. Man, the White Sox are a mess. I'll say this too. They're 23, I think, and 49. Their manager on Sunday, Will Venable, got heated and ejected right in the first inning. I've never seen that before in the first inning where it got that bad right away. But in Texas, he just lost his mind, basically. If you see that video, it's crazy. But he's having a hard time, trying to get this team going. And it's full of, let's just say, nobodies. They made a trade recently for Aaron Savelli, who was disgruntled with Milwaukee, a starting pitcher that moved to the bullpen. He said he didn't want to move to the bullpen. Well, guess what, bud? You get to go to the White Sox. They get Andrew Vaughn, which was one of the last White Sox holdovers from when they were decent.
Yeah.
They still have Luis Robert, but eventually he'll get traded. That rumor to LA is still out there. But the White Sox, they're a mess, really. Get to some other news here. This one is crazy, too. Zach Wheeler, he's known as the Phillies ace right now. He's going to retire after his contract expires at the end of 27. Now, he's not that old to me, but I've never really seen anyone come out and say, hey, I'm going to retire after this contract. It's like maybe in the NFL where you see players retiring earlier now and either foregoing money or, playing out their contract. But with Zach Wheeler, I'm looking up his age right now, but it seems like he could go on a little more. But he's 35, I guess, but that would only be 37, 38. I guess he's going out, early and as he wants to. He's seen Justin Verlander and, Max Scherzer try to pitch through their 40s. There's somebody else trying to pitch in their 40s too. I'm blanking on whoever that was. But I don't think I've ever seen that, Todd, where somebody says, "Hey, I'm going to play out the contract and then I'm going to retire," but you announce it 2 years before.
Yeah, I've never seen that either. That to me just screams of a guy who is comfortable in his own skin. He knows that okay, maybe I don't want to be like you said, a Scherzer or a beat up Verlander at the end of his career. I feel that I'll still be in somewhat tip top shape by the time my contract is over. And he's doing the honorable thing to him for himself, saying, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go out on my terms. I'm gonna make my own way out. So I think he's doing that, and kudos to him. Zach Wheeler is a good pitcher, and there's no doubt he would get offered a pretty nice contract or an extension at that point to at least get 2 or 3 more years added onto his MLB career. But maybe, hey, he's got some kids. He wants to be at home. Being a professional athlete in one of the four major sports, say what you want about it, it does take you out of the loop of family life. You've got to commit a good 6 to 8 months to that sport every year, and you're barely getting maybe 4 months off. And in between that, when you have your 4 months off, you're doing strength and conditioning. You're still keeping up with a regimen. It can be taxing on somebody. So even though you're making all that money, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes as an athlete. So, yeah, kudos to him again. He's probably set in money, doesn't have to worry about it. And, he's going to move on to the next chapter of his life.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think some players come out recently and have said about their career where they've lost a lot of summers, of course, since they were probably 8 or 9 years old when you really think about it. I think Bryce Harper mentioned that where they haven't really had, literally a summer that, that didn't have to deal with baseball. And then other things about being out on the road, whatever the case is. Let's play a game real quick. A couple of things. An anonymous player on what he would change about the MLB. He said, quote, "Less games, more off days, and same pay." Who do you think said that?
Anthony Rendon.
I think it was. They're going to keep it anonymous for now. But if I'm Rob Manfred, the owner, I'm putting that quote on a big, screen or whatever. I'm making sure people know somebody said that. What else? What else happened? Oh yeah, quickly. What MLB team has the highest price concessions?
Damn it, I saw this too somewhere. I'm gonna say Houston.
No.
All right, let me get one more crack at it. Let me go San Francisco or Colorado. I know it's a 2-1, but
no. What's amazing, and they're only, I guess, talking about beer. It could be other things, but the Washington Nationals are charging $15.40 for a beer, and that's probably like a like a 12-ounce. Right? Yeah, because we've seen teams, the Angels do this, of course, where they charge 17, 18 for a tall can of like the premium beer. Of course, is like 15, 16, I think it is.
Yeah, and then the Dodgers do 22, I know, for their premium.
Jeez. Something's $30. I can't remember what it is for LA, but it's recent. Other things that happened, the Oakland reverse boycott game was removed from MLB's archives. That was a game, I think, 2 years ago, 2013, June 13th, where they did reverse boycott, basically, the A's fans, where they came to the game and sold it out. And I think the owner probably of, what's his name? Sorry. I'm blanking. But he probably said, yeah, can we get rid of that and just get rid of anything Oakland? John Fisher.
Yeah, there you go, John Fisher.
It's just bad to see. I know the archives are still out there from other people. But I do remember that game because they were throwing a lot of stuff on the field, whatever happened. They also broke ground in Vegas, finally. And the weird part about it, I think, is because of the weather. It was at 8:30 in the morning in Vegas, where people are probably asleep. But they finally broke ground. It's going to take 3 or 4 years to get it done, if it even does. We'll see if that's the case. I did want to ask you about this too. Does it seem like fly balls aren't traveling as far in 25? MLB is kind of taking notice to it. They say that this little projectile here is not flying as much this year. It has more drag this year than any other season as tracking began. Well hit balls are falling about 4 feet shorter than before. They're saying one possible reason is small changes in the seam's height of a baseball. They make it seem like the seams are wider apart, and I guess there's not much more bump off the seams off of the bat. But I don't know if you have anything on that, because you would think with all the metrics that we have and launch angle and exit velocity, that we would see more fly balls go out. But it seems like some are getting to the warning track and just dying.
Yeah, I'm not too. I mean, things have changed so much over the years. Like, we went through the humidor days. There's just been a lot of changes in baseball. A lot of people are saying too. The rumor is the fact that they can fixate on the exit velocities, not because the scanner guns that they have, is because there's a tiny little paperweight or paper clip type sensor inside the baseball that's traveling the speed of the baseball. That's how they're able to get back the how far the ball went to. So, if the MLB keeps tinkering with stuff, of course it's going to change. And then you got to think too, a lot of pitchers are keeping the ball down more. They're not giving up as many home runs. So there's a lot to play into it, but I wouldn't lose sleep over that. That's more of like a thing. Like, I think if anything, you'd want less home runs, in my opinion. If you're hitting more balls off the wall and guys are having a chance to go from first to third, second and third, or first to home, I think that's more exciting than always a solo blast or a 3-run homer.
By the way, with the Royals and Astros back in 2013, there was a straight trade for a possible trade that luckily didn't happen. As Jose Altuve going to the Royals for Eric Hosmer. And this former Royals GM said, nope, no way. But you think how that would change the history of both teams. Like, the Astros wouldn't be as successful. The Royals wouldn't have won the championship in 2015, being the Angels in 2014, the last Angels appearance in the majors. It's just funny how little things like that happen. Really quick, let's check the standings before we get out of here.
Okay.
AL East, the Yankees are at 42-28. Although coming off of the 3-game sweep loss to Boston, they still hold first place by 3.5. The Tampa Bay Rays, through the heavy loaded home schedule at first, now they're on the road more now, but they're 39-32. I did not have that. They have a bunch of players that we don't even know, and they're out there doing this well. Toronto's in third place at 38-33. They're 4.5 out. And then Boston, making the move they did, they climbed above 500 at 37-36. But they trade their possible best player that they had in the lineup today. They're 6.5 out in fourth place. And again, the Orioles, winning 2 out of 3 against the Angels, are 30-40, 12 games out. Anything on that AL East?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Geez, dude, in their last 27 games, they are actually 30 games. They are 23-7. Are the Rays? That's insane. I did not have that on my bingo card either. But I will say about the division, it's a little bit shocking to, like I said, since the beginning of the season, to see Baltimore where they were at. I actually thought Boston would be closer to the bottom with Toronto. Toronto's kind of held their head above water here for a little bit, although they're losing 3 in a row. But Yankees are doing Yankee things. But again, the Rays and Blue Jays are kind of the surprises right there.
Okay, Detroit is leading the Central. It's more of the same. They lead Minnesota by 9, Guardians by 9.5, Royals by 11.5. They've really fallen as of late.
I'm disappointed in the Royals.
And then the White Sox 23-49, like I mentioned. Yeah, it ends up with Detroit. Everybody else is kind of fighting for that last wild card spot. I know it's early, but they put it out there. Yeah, the Royals unfortunately are just floundering, and I was hoping they would have been better this year off of the wild card appearance. This AL West to me, Todd, I really don't know. It seems like a two-team race like last year with Houston and Seattle. Seattle now 4.5 back, Texas 5.5 back. Those two teams have really struggled offensively, if you noticed, especially against the Angels in that series to begin or to spin the homestand in June here for the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle faced a just they're facing obstacles at the plate. A lot of looking strike three calls
Yeah.
for Seattle. It seems like the Angels know, of course, all about that. They're 7.5 out now. Man, it felt like what last week they were 3.5 out at one
Yeah.
point. Jeez.
Yeah. They were really close and about 2 games out of the wild card. But I look at this division the same way. It's anyone's to take. Houston can go on a massive slump. Seattle can go on a rise. Texas to me went from a minus plus a differential, plus minus differential to now plus. They're plus 27. And, they're hitting the ball a lot better now. So they're only 5.5 out. So you can't write them off. You can't write us off either. I mean, again, as far as like, do we think they're going to, make a first place run? No. But do you think they could stay in it and stay within 3 or 4 games? Because my thing has always been, if you're more than 5 games out, you're not really in it, and that's when it's time to throw in the towel, especially if you're like that in the wild card with all those teams bunched up. But for right now, I mean, the AL West is the AL West. It's gonna be bad. I still don't think a team with 90 wins wins that division.
First to 87 wins the division.
There you go.
Athletics 29-44. Before you get to the NL, totally forgot about the sponsors. That sounds awful. But okay, let's say I'm looking for tickets, especially for June 20th and 21st, 22nd when the Angels are back home. Where am I going to go, Todd?
Well, let's run through them real quick. 714 tickets, and you can use HITI in the promo code. Once you order the tickets online with your profile, you get 10% off of those set prices. And the prices you see is the price you get. So if you pick up like 3 or 4 tickets and it comes out to 60 or 70 bucks in the cheap seats or whatever, you're only paying that. There's no service charge. There's no taxes. It's all in one price right there. Plus you get the 10% discount, and 5% goes into your bank. Yes, they give you a little bank every time you make a purchase. 5% goes to your next ticket. So one of these next times you go, you can pay for an entire ticket with the savings that you have.
Definitely. For memorabilia, let's just say of Eric Hosmer or Jose Altuve if he signed a trash can. I bet you I could find it at the OC Dugout.
Absolutely. You could find all kinds of sports memorabilia because they sign or they have signed stuff. They buy, they trade, they sell. And they are good friends with us, and they have a lot of interviews. And actually, they have a Logan O'Hoppe, card signing and meet and greet over there at Rockin' Brews in Buena Park. So you want to take a look at that this Saturday coming up on, I think it's around 10:30 in the morning. So you want to come early for that. And it'll be shaded, so you don't have to worry about the hot sun.
That is going to be important there. Okay, so Brewheim, I know you mentioned HITI for drink specials, but there is something going on special there on the 21st. Would you care to share?
The 21st, later on, there's a Drunken Brews Angel HITI kind of thing. It's a tailgate before the game. They're going to have food there. $40 gets you a ticket into the game, gets you a shirt and a free pint. So that's not bad right there, and maybe a chance at a raffle as well. So you want to come down and have a good time from 2 to 5 at Brewheim, featuring us and also Brewheim's favorite drunken. I have to put the banner up, but it's drunken something or other. But it's a cool shirt. You'll like it. It's like an Angels font.
I will be there. We'll see about the 21st and 22nd. Or, I'm sorry, 20th and 22nd. We'll see about that. We have a new sponsor. Now, I do not have it in front of me. Would you care to share that as well?
Yeah, Max Market Pros. Max Market Pros is basically Google certified. And they are a company that will help your business. If you're just getting started, if you're struggling, if you have a cleaning service, if you have a pool guy, if you have someone that is working on your car, you have some sort of family owned business, a small business, they're the place to go. You go to Max Market Pros, tell them that Halos in the Infield sent you, and they can help you design a brand new website to get you to the top of the list or to get you to the top of the Google search. And that's where you really want to be at. And they can also help you out with your social media. So if you're just looking to be a creator, an inventor, or whatever, and if you're on the social media side, they could definitely help you out there. So you want to go to maxmarketpros.com.
That's it. I'll put that in later. Yeah, I'm trying to find that. Was it the Brewheim? Oh, there it is. Yeah. The Pint Life Company. It's the pregame party, like you mentioned. The Drunken Gentleman. It's a pretty cool shirt.
Yes.
So you get the angel ticket, you get the drink ticket, beer or soda, and then the Drunken Gentleman combined with the Halos tee. So it's a T-shirt there. Again, from 2 to 5 this Saturday, June 21st, coming up. That's at 1931 East, right with a W circle in Anaheim there, Brewheim. Been there one time. I got to get back there. A tremendous atmosphere for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's look at the NL East because it's basically been a two team race with the Mets holding on to first place against the Phillies 2.5. By the way, they play each other next weekend. I think MLB is getting it right with all these rivalries, playing every weekend. And it just seems like, we just had Giants and the Dodgers. Before that, the Giants and, the Dodgers and Padres played during the week. But the Dodgers and Yankees were playing. So it's just all been going fun in a row. For those who hate the Astros, they're coming to Anaheim this weekend. So it's all working out, I guess. Again, Mets are ahead of the Phillies by 2.5, but the Braves, this is maybe the biggest drop they've had this season. They're 8 games under, 13.5 out, 8 of the wild card. They just have not had a fun time as of late. Nationals 30-41, 14.5 out. Miami at 15.5 out. More quickly about the Braves. Last week, they brought Kimbrel in from. They brought him up from minor leagues. They pitch him in one appearance, and then they cut him. I know he's 37. He doesn't have the same velocity, but it kind of felt like a little bit of disrespect when they did that. I don't know how you felt about that. If you've seen that story.
Yeah, I didn't like it because he does have a full resume, but it doesn't pass. It doesn't pass the smell test. But I do know that would be an Angels move. They would.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Kimbrel, I think, by the way, was picked up by someone. Let's see. That one. Oh, the team that kind of needs help with that, the Texas Rangers. So we'll maybe see him next month or the month after at the Big A. Chicago, the Cubs in the NL Central, they lead the Brewers by 5.5. Cincinnati and St. Louis 7.5, and the Pirates, of course, 15.5. The Cardinals, remember when the last time we talked 2 weeks ago, they were in second place? Mm-hmm. They've fallen despite being 2 games above 500. This division, other from the Cubs and the Pirates, with the 3 teams in the middle, it just seems like they keep switching back and forth.
Correct. And although since Cincinnati's starting to pick it up a little bit, they're over 500.
They, that's true. And you hope they can. They're only 3 out of the wild card. You're just hoping Francona and them can, kind of work together, the young guys. We'll see what happens there. NL West, real quick, the Dodgers lead the Giants by 2. They took 2 out of 3. If it wasn't for a grand slam by Casey Smith on Friday, the Giants would have got swept. But the Dodgers lead San Francisco by 2, the Padres by 3 because they lost 2 out of 3 in Arizona this weekend. Arizona back to 500 at 36-35. They're 6.5 out. And then you have the Rockies at 14 and 57, already 28.5 games out of first place. And again, we mentioned a run differential at negative 203. It's more of the same for Los Angeles. The big four games series, of course, we mentioned with Shohei starting tomorrow for the first time in Dodger Blue against San Diego. So that's going to be interesting. But the Giants, I think it's more about them, and they only got better with Devers coming in now. I still see LA getting this division, but it hasn't been as easy this year at 43-29.
Yeah, with all the injuries they've had, no one woes me for that franchise. F them. But, getting back to the Rockies real quick. So we can't be talking about playoffs?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Sorry.
That threw me off guard. Man, where the hell is Herman Edwards?
That's Jim Mora.
Or Jim Moore. I was thinking of Herman as well. But Jim Moore, I saw he's still with us? I can't remember.
Yeah, he's still with us. He did a commercial with DraftKings with
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He's like 90 something, I want to say.
He's up there, that's for sure.
I'll tell you what, when I'm 90 is the next time the Rockies are going to make the playoffs. I'll say that right now.
Maybe.
We'll end it as here. Again, the big story, Shohei and Devers, the pitching, and then the trading that the Giants have done with Boston. Totally destroying whatever Boston was going with. Covered the Angels, of course. Any final thoughts as we get out of here?
No, just keep an eye on the Halos in the Infield throughout the week for breaking news, and James will bring it to you, and we'll have our post games and other shows. And look forward to that draft special coming up here pretty soon as well.
Yeah, Dominic will be, of course, on that, and I'm going to learn a lot more because the next episode should be coming up, I think, sometime during this week. And that's when you start getting hot and heavy with the draft picks, with the scouting, and that's going to be a lot of fun to see. Because I think you're the one who mentioned that this draft class or these draft picks is going to be the most important in the Angel history going forward. I believe it was you who said that. So it's going to be, definitely. But yeah, follow all the shows here on the HITI Network on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, and of course here on YouTube, the question of the day with Fernando on X as he follows along with the games. Thank you for watching, I think, the 13th episode of Around the League. We'll see you next time. Bye.